Hey, what's happening? Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early. It's 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I found a story I wanted to talk about today. It has to do with John Fetterman and Tucker Carlson. All right. Let me start from the very beginning. John Fetterman, if you don't know who he is, well, shame on you, but he's running for governor of Pennsylvania. He's a Democrat, and he's running against Dr. Oz. Let me just start right there. John Fetterman, he's being labeled as Uncle Festerman by people, Republicans and Trumpers. This is one of the biggest reasons why I do not care for Trumpers and Republicans, how they just look at somebody and they make fun of their appearances. Like in yesterday's video, I don't know if you guys read the description, but I was I didn't even think about it until after I made the video, but I only made fun of his clothing choices, his fashion statements, not of the actual person himself. Fashion is something somebody could change like that. Other things, their height, their weight, their hair, their disabilities, they are born with those things. To me, that's just off limits. All right. So they call it started on Fox News, and I think it was that whatever her name is on Fox News, calling him Uncle Festerman, and they just get such delight out of these nicknames taken after Trump, and that's just one of the biggest reasons why I can't stand these guys. But anyway, all right, so as soon as I saw John Fetterman at 56 years old, I feel like I've become a fairly good judge of people, especially after being a big fat liar and manipulator myself for over 2 decades. I remember why I lied. I remember how I lied. I remember how I sounded. I remember how the people I hung out with, the facial expressions, everything, the tics, the giveaways. After doing that for 2 decades, unfortunately, I became a professional at it. And I could spot that a mile away. And usually, as soon as I see somebody, I hear them talk, I could get a gut feeling, whether the person's for real, whether I like them or I don't like them. And I have learned to trust that gut feeling 100%. So as soon as I saw John Fetterman, I liked him. Wearing a hoodie, it's something that's comfortable. Here in the Northeast, hoodies are king, man. This is hoodie weather. And as soon as I saw Dr. Oz, going back however long he's been on TV, I never particularly cared for him. I didn't like his segments on poop, and I just didn't care for him. I didn't care. He just struck me in a bad way. So I like John Fetterman right off the bat. Okay, so there's this article in NBC News. It'll be the first one right down below, and John Fetterman is talking about his tattoos. I didn't know this. Tucker Carlson went on this long rant about John Fetterman a few days ago. And I'll talk about some of the other things Tucker Carlson brought up in a second. But he talked about John Fetterman's tattoos, that they're phony. So I read this article. It's going to be, like I said, it's the first one right down below. So John Fetterman has 9 dates on his arm, and he's got a zip code on the other arm, and he explains the importance of these. And when I read this article, it blew me away. The 9 dates are people that died of violent crimes while he was mayor of the city in Pennsylvania that he lived in. I can't even remember the name of the city offhand. It was not a city, it's a small town, really. And the other one, the zip code, is the zip code of that town. And he explained a few of the dates. Like I said, the article is right down below, so you can read it yourselves. And these stories, I can't even say them here on YouTube. They are so horrific. How he explains, I believe, how 2 or 3 of the first, the second, and the third date, the incident behind them, and it was appalling, atrocious, unbelievable stuff. And this man has tattooed this on his arm. Like I said, I'm a fairly good judge. I'm a great judge of human character, of truth, of manipulation. And I just, as soon as I read this, I get a feeling in my gut, nobody would do this just to get a job. as mayor. Just, you know, I doubt he, once he got, you know, when he was working as mayor, I doubt he probably even pictured himself being governor. You know, I would never picture any politician putting these particular dates with the stories behind them permanently etched into his skin, you know, because they're important to him. The violent crime in that city, and then the zip code on the other end. Now the zip code, you know, I could see how somebody might want to manipulate people and put the zip code on. I could see that. But those dates, once you read the stories behind those dates, there's just, you know, like I said, I was a liar and manipulator for decades, and there's no way I believe that this guy didn't do that with honest intentions. Didn't do that with honest intentions. So Tucker Carlson calls these tattoos phony and all this other stuff. So I figured I'd give Tucker Carlson, I want to see what Tucker Carlson actually said. And it was a lot. It's a lot. That'll be the second link down below. And I read through it. And for a second, I almost fell for it. I almost did fall for it. Tucker Carlson started talking about how John Fetterman's never worked a day in his life. How his father paid for everything up until his 40s or 50s. How he had some paid-for degree from Harvard on public policy that doesn't mean anything, and just so he could say he went to Harvard. And then he goes on to talk about his hoodie. He talks about the crime in the town that John Fetterman was mayor. How that it was even higher than in some small countries like the Honduras or whatever. And I have to admit, as I read this, in the back of my subconscious, I almost started to doubt John Fetterman. And then I started thinking about it, the hypocrisy behind this. You look at Tucker Carlson, and you look at Tucker Carlson's main man, Donald Trump. You know, and Tucker Carlson is taking Fetterman to task for being rich and going to rich schools. Tucker Carlson went to school here in Connecticut. What was it, Quinnipiac, I think, here in Middletown. You know, Tucker Carlson is exactly who he's describing John Fetterman to be. You know, Tucker Carlson talking about John Fetterman never having a honest day of work in his life. And Tucker Carlson's job is to throw this trash out on live TV and denigrate people. And the whole part about crime reminded me of the race here in Connecticut. I saw an advertisement. Johanna Hayes is running for Congress here again to be reelected. I believe she won Teacher of the Year. And she's one of my favorite people. And there was a commercial on TV yesterday, and they were talking about electricity is going up, and gas prices are going up, and you have to pay more for food, and it's all Johanna Hayes is leaving us all behind. And I started thinking about that. You know, is Johanna Hayes responsible for higher electricity costs? Is she responsible for the food? No, not at all. So what I see here is the Republican Party making up stuff, you know, talking about, yes, these things are issues, but they're not issues that Johanna Hayes can solve, especially not by herself, or that she's responsible for, but that a lot of people are angry and fired up about. So they take the people's angst and turn it unrightly towards Johanna Hayes. You know, and then I started thinking about that some more. So say a Republican does win over Johanna Hayes. Is all of a sudden, is the electric prices going to go down? Is the gas prices going to go down? The food prices go down? You know, rainbows are going to appear in the sky if a Republican gets elected? Hell no. Hell no. Especially, they don't even say what their policies are. Their policies are anything that isn't woke. That's, you know, their big thing these days. So, like I said, I almost fell for it. This Tucker Carlson thing, because the way he puts down, he makes these things up about John Fetterman. You know, these are bad things. You know, he's a phony. He's a fraud. That's Tucker Carlson's main point. And I'll tell you, man, you know, after being a 100% champion manipulator and liar myself for over 2 decades, I'll tell you what, John Fetterman is no phony. There's no fraud. Nobody would print these dates with the stories behind them just to become mayor of a city, or even governor, or even president. Read the stories behind these tattoos, the dates. No, Tucker Carlson, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of it. I'm not buying your hypocrisy. I'm not buying your woke fear tactics, and I'm especially not buying your John Fetterman phony story. You guys check out the links down below. Like I said, Fetterman replying back about what these tattoos mean, that'll be the first link. And then what Tucker Carlson said about Fetterman will be the second link. Check them out yourselves and tell me what you think. Have a good Monday.